Starting a project using Bootstrap is really easy. To begin, if we go over to getbootstrap.com, which is the Bootstrap homepage, and then go down to the Get Started section here. Remember though, websites like this can often change layouts, so if yours looks a little different when you visit, just have a little look around for the installation or the Getting Started section. There are a few different ways to get going. We can download the full starter folder by clicking on the big download button in the top corner. This is great but includes lots of things we don't need at this stage. We can also go over to the download section on the left. Then if we scroll down, we can go ahead and download the CSS and JavaScript files, then drop these into our project folder. Or the way I'm going to do it in this project is by using a CDN. Let's go back to the introduction and then scroll down. A CDN is a content delivery network. This basically means rather than adding the CSS and JavaScript files into our project and then linking these in our HTML, instead these files are hosted on an external server for us to link to. Here we can see we have our CSS and JavaScript sections, so we can copy this link for the CSS, and we also have some JavaScript links here too, where we can link our script tags to the CDN. If we scroll down even further, we have a starter template, and this is a really convenient place to start. This has all the basic HTML structure we need, along with any links to the required CSS and also the JavaScript too. So let's begin by copying this starter template with the copy button in the top corner. So let's grab hold of that. And then if we go over to the desktop and create a new folder called Gourmet Burgers. Open up Visual Studio Code, and then we can drag in this project folder to begin. As always, we create our index.html, but this time we now have a Bootstrap starter, so we can paste in this skeleton structure. Give that a save, and then we can go ahead and open this up in the browser. Let's double click the index.html, bring up the browser, and there's our hello world example. So that's all working fine. Back over to the project, we can now start to add our own customizations. We can change the title to be Gourmet Burgers, and then save. And our changes are now reflected in the browser. So this text of hello world may look like a standard H1 element, but it has a little default Bootstrap styling, like all the other elements will have too. We can see this if we comment out the CSS link in the head section. So the Bootstrap CSS is just here. So if we comment out this line and then refresh, we see the Bootstrap default styles have now been removed. So let's just remove this comment and add this back in. To see what's going on behind the scenes, we can take a look at the CSS provided by Bootstrap. If we copy this link inside the href, right to the very end, copy that, and then over to the browser, we can paste this in just like a normal URL. This is the style sheet which is linked to at this URL. It's a little hard to read because currently it's minified. This means all the white space has been removed to keep the file size smaller. So to see this even better, if we select all and then copy, and I'm going to search for code beautify, and this is the one we need, codebeautify.org. So select this, and the one we need is the CSS. So select this link here. On the left hand side, we can add the CSS input. So paste in our Bootstrap code and then click on Beautify in the middle. So over on the right hand side, we can see the output, and we can make this the size of the full screen. So this is all the CSS which Bootstrap provides. It now looks formatted in a way which looks familiar. And if we scroll through it, there is quite a lot. If we press Command or Control F, this will let us search through the code. So let's search for the H1 and hit enter. Then we can see all the CSS which is applying to this H1 element. So at first we have H1 right through to H6, which applies some default margin bottom, a font family of inherit. We also have a font weight, a line height, and it also inherits the text color. Down to the next one, we can also see the font size is 2.5 rem, which is why when we remove the Bootstrap style sheet, the H1 then appeared smaller. We can also scroll through and take a look at some more styles too, if we wanted to, but hopefully you get the idea of what is going on behind the scenes. And we'll also take advantage of a lot of the classes created for us as we build this project. This would also be the same as the CSS file if we were to download it and add it to our project folder. The final thing I would like to point out is that while all these styles are great to use and make our project look better, we can still override any of these base styles with our own style sheet. We do this by creating our own CSS file, just like we've done in previous projects, and link to it in the head section below this Bootstrap link. It is actually encouraged to add to or override any of these default Bootstrap styles, for the simple reason that a lot of websites use Bootstrap, and we don't want all the websites online to start looking the same. It is a good idea to use Bootstrap though for quickly building websites and components with best practices, consistent styling across different browsers, and also an excellent foundation to build on. Now we have our project set up, next let's move on to understanding how the Bootstrap grid works.